My mom. That's my mom. Just, just learning. All right, I'm excited to be here, guys, to talk to you. My mom asked me to speak today because I am you. When I was in high school, I was the creative, I was the artist. I was a band nerd. There's the guys in the back over there. And I spent all my waking moments playing gigs and listening to music and being around musicians and talking about music and twirling my drumsticks. And I got to the end of high school and the big question hit. I'm a creative kid. What do I do with that? So let's talk about college really quickly. To the students out there, are you guys going to college?
Yeah.
This is the interactive portion of the speech here. Or are you going to college?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Good.
No.
You've got to go to college. You absolutely have to go to college. I don't care if you've Googled the top 10, billionaires who didn't go to college. Everybody needs to go to college, and everybody can benefit from college. And if you want to get a job, every single resume I've ever seen or has come across my desk has that little section on it filled in with college. And college is important. College is absolutely important. First of all, it's a large personal endeavor, And if you're going to get past high school, you're going to have to get experience and confidence in doing this. It's where you join a community, and you have to work with a system, and you have to coexist with people that you don't know or necessarily get along with, And it's also where you're allowed to explore and get inspired by what actually interests you, not just the curriculum that the state came up with. But college is really expensive, and it's an investment. And I think there's a couple different ways where you can play that. I think for the artists, you can go directly to art school, and this is a great way to incubate a career in the arts. It's also a great way to learn exactly what you know and don't know very quickly. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts, and I remember the first day. There was a concert that the seniors play for the freshmen, and the drummer at that concert was a friend of mine I actually met over the Stanford Jazz program. And his drums had gotten stolen, and he asked if he could borrow mine for the concert that night. For my trouble, he'd call me up and I'd get to play a tune. I'm like, first day, I'm hot stuff, I'm coming in, I'm gonna get up in front of the stage and show everybody how good I am, kind of dominate. And the time comes and he calls me up, and they call some tune, and it's like this, and I am just a mess, and my hands are going everywhere. I flip the beat around, and the bass player's looking at me, and he's yelling at me, and everybody in the room has got this look on their face, That's the look. It was like I was microwaving broccoli and fish sticks, and the windows closed. I mean, it really was. It was, that. And the song ends, and it's just silent. It's dead silent, and I just wanted to fly home that day. I just wanted to go home, and I wanted to go cry. But I didn't, and I stayed, and I studied, and I practiced, and I played that same stage 4 years later, and I nailed it. So I was lucky enough to learn that lesson on the very first day. It didn't help me get any dates for the next 4 years, but that's a different story. So, that's music school. You can also, take a traditional liberal arts program or a university. And this is a great way to get a wide variety of studies and interests. And for tech and engineering, this is where these careers are made. So back to college being an investment, if you really want to make a return on your investment, working hard at these schools and those industries, that's the way to do it. And, I said that you had to have the box on your resume with college in it. I didn't say it necessarily had to say complete. You have to have the box. But you can get a leg up in a lot of workforces by getting in at the entry level and getting experience while splitting your time with your education. You talk about college being an investment, you can spend half to a quarter and get the same return as kids, in other programs. So this is a fantastic way. There are many entry points and many options for you. The last thing I'll say about colleges is that unless you're Rodney Dangerfield or in an Adam Sandler movie, you're not going to get any chance to go back to college. So my biggest advice for you is to make the most out of every minute that you're there. Those are expensive minutes, and just make the most out of them. It's a wonderful opportunity. You'll never get to do it again. All right, that's my college talk. Let's get back to how do you make, how are you successful with your art? And I'll tell you how to not be successful first. I want to go over just some misconceptions about being an artist. The first one is about selling out. This concept of selling out. You're not any less of an artist if you make money doing what you do. I don't think Adele is less talented because she sells albums. I don't think Corey is a sellout because he makes family movies that are really popular. And I don't think he thinks I'm a sellout because, I sell 1 million downloads a day. It's a huge misconception. And, I think that, this, let me go to my notes. You're also not any less of an artist if you use notes. Oh, yes. How could I forget? We lost Thomas Kincaid last week, and that's the guy who gets the most flack about this, Thomas Kincaid, painter of light. And, is he a sellout because he made millions of dollars selling paintings? No. He enjoyed painting his paintings. Other people enjoy buying his paintings. They put them up at their house, and they like them. Go ahead, sell out. That's fantastic. The phrase selling out means you're sold out of something. That means there's none left. That means you're doing something that people like. It's a good thing. The next misconception I think that is going around is that you need to be some kind of, pickled train wreck or strung out junkie. This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. Emotion is the fuel of creativity, and I think people, seek out these things to try and get in touch with emotions. And, this is a slippery slope to a dark place. And don't worry about emotions. You guys are going to have a ton of emotions in the next 4 years. You're going to fall in love, and it's probably not going to go so well. And but from experience there, you're definitely going to think that you can change the world, and you're going to come up and understand that it's a lot harder than you think. And you may miss home so much that you just cry to yourself. Or you may, not have left home and long to leave. So there are plenty of emotions out there to have. Lastly, I think the biggest misconception is that you need to be poor. You need to be some kind of starving artist to be a real artist. You need to have drive and ambition. And, not having a lot of money is a great motivator. I'll take the house down for a minute, but, my father passed when I was 7 years old, and my mom and I had to move to an area where it was so dangerous that I couldn't go to my house to play. And that sure is a built-in motivator that I don't ever want to go back there again. So, Miles Davis drove a lot of Ferraris, and Picasso ended up with a healthy life there towards the end. So don't get hung up on this, real artist, starving artist thing. Okay, so those are the misconceptions. Those are a couple things to get out of the way. What do you need to be a successful artist? And I think what you need is money. And I just told you, you don't have to be a poor, artist, but I'm kind of talking about financing here. Art costs money. Canvas costs money, paint costs money, film costs money, instruments cost money, lenses cost money. The hunt for financing will never escape you as an artist. So get used to it and get very good at it. It's actually the best part about the process, one of the best parts about the process of development. Because in the relentless search for money, you will distill your passion for your project. You will distill that passion by trying to hunt for money to fund it. The next thing I think you're going to need is networking. You're going to need to be good at networking. You know, you guys are all from Sequoia in this room, pretty much. You're all Sequoia. How many of you guys really know each other in this room? I mean, know each other, not like, hey, hi, you know, or, you know, I'm Facebook friends, but like know on each other enough to call on each other. And do you know not only the kids in the room, do you know the adults? You know, do you know these people? These are the people you need to meet friends with. These are the people who are going to buy your art. These are the people you're going to work with for the rest of your life. These are going to be your boss. These people you're going to hire. Understand? Get to know people. You need to be good at networking, and you need to build your brand. You know, you have to get a reputation for doing good work. You build your network. You get known for doing good work. You get a good reputation. You get phone calls, and you get paid well. This is a very, very simple formula that a lot of people mess up. So get out there, build your network, build your brand. I think that one of the other things you need to understand as an artist is that art requires discipline. Some of the worst albums in the past couple decades are when the band gets so successful that they build a studio in their house, right? And they want to have artistic freedom. Terrible records, right? You need rules to be able to break them. You need problems to be able to solve them. And through those rules, you will gain the most important resource you have, and that's focus. And focus is free. It is the most important resource. I'll say it again. Focus. And focus is free. So pick a goal. I think I stole this off a fortune cookie, but it goes, you can't climb two mountains at the same time, you know? So pick a mountain, focus on it, climb it, you know, achieve it. It's incredible. And these art shows and contests are great practice for this. So get out there and get prolific. Lastly, I think you need confidence. Confidence is key. And you build that through challenging yourself. And one of my favorite stories of all time is I actually did the community college route between high school and going to Berkeley. I tried it out. And I was working part-time for this guy, Yoram Tamir, amazing guy. And he was doing enrichments in the schools, all the middle schools, and he would send us out to do art and music classes. And he'd call me up, oh, you know, you bring a drum set, you know, you do a little rhythm class for 20 second graders. You know, and I'd show up with my drums and enough for 20 second graders, and I'd walk down the hallway and I would hear, drummer man, drummer man, drummer man. And it's the entire school in the auditorium, you know, sitting in little rows, you know, drummer man, you know. And I get there and I, you know, like, oh my God. And you know, and I say, think for a second of the impending riot if I, you know, turn around and ran down the hallway. So, you know, I suck it up and I get the kids dancing and I get the kids laughing and singing and, you know, it works out. And, you know, I call him up afterwards and I say, you know, what did you do to me? You know, what did you do to me? He says, you wouldn't have showed up if I would have told you what it was. And, you know, I thought you could do it. And I could do it. And I gained confidence in skills that I already had. You know, it's absolutely. So go and challenge yourself. You will surprise yourself very quickly. Yet again, you're not the bad artist, you go to your notes. Oh yes, oh yes. All right. So my mom put our titles on our flyer, and I work for Apple, yes. So what do I do, and how did I get my job? Well, it's Apple, so if I told you guys, you know, people with black suits will come out of the walls and take us all away. So I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that I participate in bringing products to the world. You know, most recently we did iTunes Match and Mastered for iTunes and the Beatles and the bookstore and the app stores. And I used my experience in, you know, accomplishing projects, college, and my skills in networking and my creative mind to take ownership of pieces of launching or maintaining these products. And do I use my degree directly with what I do? Do I use my music degree directly with what I do? No. but I think creatively and I contribute creatively to everything I do for my company. And I fulfill my personal life. I fulfill my personal life with anything else I need. You know, last year I shot a short film and I conducted a social art experiment. And this year I'm producing a line of t-shirts for charity, and I'm drumming up support to build a science museum in Santa Cruz. And I'm building my concept model out of Legos. Don't tell my daughter where her Legos are going. So I've kept art in my life, and I will continue to do so. I think this area is built on a gold rush, you know? And it's the birthplace and the epicenter of man's technological age. And people are making money, I mean, a lot of money. And it's really dangerous to tie your expectation of success to that. You know, I work extremely hard every day, and I run around like crazy, and I have 80 conversations just so I can have one when I get home with my kid and my wife. And though I don't do arts in my job directly anymore, I'm now able to support the arts. So you guys are creative and smart. Get creative about your ideas of success. I run into family members and friends, and they will ask, you know, are you playing? Which evidently air maracas is the universal sign for playing drums. And I say, yeah, you know, I'm booked 7 nights a week over at Club Claire doing the late show. You know, I start off with a freestyle fiction jam, and then I move into a 5-song set. Right now I'm in a bossa mood. And for a very exclusive VIP audience, and I couldn't be happier. So, I think all the art in this room is amazing. Some of these pieces have really inspired me, and I really encourage you guys to continue. I do. It's amazing. I think as creatives, you have just an incredible advantage in the world. You're able to take lines and turn them into anything. You know, you're able to take notes and turn them into melodies. You're able to take words and turn them into stories and songs and scripts. And you're able to take light and color and make it breathe. And you're incredibly powerful. And there are vast opportunities for you to thrive in this world. So live art, be art, support the arts, and I wish you the best of luck in what is going to be the most exciting time of your life. Thank you.